The social contract of the Commons. Preamble. We, the members of the Commons, each sovereign in dignity, equal in worth, and bound by shared life, do affirm and declare that liberty is not the absence of obligation, but the sacred harmony between rights and responsibilities. That the Commons, the space we share, the earth we inherit, the truths we uphold, the futures we shape, is not owned but honored, not inherited without condition but entrusted with duty. That democracy is not a product of sentiment or spectacle, but a daily act of conscience, conversation, and collective care. That the state exists not to rule, but to serve. Its highest calling is the protection, enrichment, and perpetuation of the Commons. The shared trust of resources, rights, knowledge, dignity, and possibility that belongs equally to all. Therefore, we establish this social contract of the Commons. Article 1. The nature of the Commons. The Commons is all that is shared, physical, intellectual, cultural, ecological, and spiritual. The Commons includes land, air, water, all life within them, language, law, memory, and meaning, truth, knowledge, justice, and care. The Commons is not owned but held in trust, for each other, for our descendants, and for life itself. The Commons is sacred because no one person made it alone, and no one person may destroy it alone. The guiding question of every action shall be, does this serve the Commons? Article 2. Rights of every citizen of the Commons. Each person equally and individually holds the right to dignity without condition, security without servitude, freedom without domination, knowledge without distortion, health without exclusion, participation without fear, voice without suppression, purpose without permission, belonging to a community, a place, a people, freely chosen or received, free migration, travel, and settlement. To live in self-determined solitude if one wishes, acknowledging that citizenship and full participation in the Commons are thus paused. These rights are inalienable, but never absolute. They exist in mutuality, bounded by the rights of others and the needs of the Commons. Article 3. Duties of every citizen of the Commons. With these rights come sacred duties. The duty of reason, to think, to learn, to question. The duty of inquiry, to seek knowledge relentlessly. Willful ignorance is a civic sin. The duty of speech, to speak truth when silence enables harm, to speak for others when their voices are silenced. The duty of stewardship, to protect the earth and its life, not for profit but for posterity. The duty of service, to give back, through time, care, money, skill, or presence, to the Commons that sustains us all. The duty of solidarity, to stand with those oppressed or excluded, honoring their full place in the civic whole. The duty of justice, to confront injustice wherever it thrives, especially when dressed in tradition or legality. The duty of memory, to honor those who came before, their pain, their wisdom, their fight, and to extend their sacrifices into the future. The duty of imagination, to live not merely in reaction, but in vision, to build a life that uplifts others by daring to dream. The duty of goodness, to do good in all things, not as performance but as principle. The duty of self-becoming, to sculpt one's future self with reason and compassion, mind, body, soul. The duty of civic time, to uphold the right to time for thought, rest, service, care, creation, and growth. The duty of mutual respect, to respect others' reasoned and compassionate views, to reject views rooted in ignorance or malice. Article 4. On power and accountability. No institution, government, market, church, or algorithm shall override the will of the informed thinking Commons. All power must be transparent, accountable, and revisable. The citizen's duty is not blind allegiance, but vigilant questioning of leaders, systems, and fellow citizens. Freedom without accountability is not liberty, but license, a threat to all others. The state has the right and obligation to defend the Commons, its people, and its institutions, but never to wield power for conquest, oppression, or expansion for domination. The state may expand the Commons through creation, cultivation, and service, but not by exploitation of other peoples, places, or species. Article 5, on inequality and liberty's defeat. It is a sin against the commons to claim superiority of rights or personhood over another. No one may place their private interest above the public good, except in rare, dire need, and never without conscience. The defeat of liberty begins when one believes they are more deserving of freedom than another. All structures that encode systemic inequality violate this contract and must be remade in justice. Article 6, on the global and the generational. The commons extends beyond border, class, species, or generation. It is planetary, intergenerational, and sacred. The actions of the present must always be weighed by their impact on what comes next. We owe a sacred debt to the future, to leave it not in ruin, but in renewal. All life is sacred. Every sentient being, every ecosystem, every moment of the living world deserves our respect and care. Article 7, on the role of the state in material security and opportunity. The state shall provide the material and social conditions necessary for every citizen to participate fully in the commons. Free and universal education, free and comprehensive health care, fair work, fair wages, fair time, housing, transit, libraries, public parks, digital access, and all other needs of the citizen and commons as necessary. Taxation shall be proportional to both capacity and benefit. Contributions according to means, services according to need. The right to reasoned and compassionate freedom. Every individual has the inalienable right to make free choices, so long as those choices are rooted in reason and compassion, and do not infringe upon the rights or dignity of others. Article 8, on civic knowledge and participation. Every citizen has the duty to vote, and the deeper duty to understand the issues, the ballot, and the candidates. Not voting or choosing ignorance is a civic sin. Being media literate, informed, discerning, these are civic skills and obligations, not optional extras. Closing declaration. Let it be known, this is not a contract of convenience, it is a covenant of conscience. It is not built for perfection, but for the imperfect, the striving, the compassionate, the brave. We are each other's keepers, and we are the stewards of the world we share. So let the commons rise, in thought, in courage, in duty, in love. Signed not in ink, but in action.